What's up guys, Noelle here. You may notice I'm wearing the exact same outfit as in last week's video, and that is because this video was originally intended to be part of last week's video, but the whole video itself wound up being like 45 minutes long, and I'm like, there is literally no way I am uploading a 45-minute video. I am notorious for my long videos, embarrassingly long videos, but 45 minutes is really pushing it. I don't even like to go past 25 minutes. Going past 15 minutes seems excessive to me, but you know, yeah, it happens. But anyways, today's video is going to be everything you need to know about period products. Basically, I'm going to be talking about how they're used and kind of how to pick the right one. Because going into that pad and tampon aisle, it's a little daunting. You're just kind of like, oh goodness, what do I even get? Because you're just hit with all the brands, all the sizes, all the stuff. It's just like, what do I even do? Even I get hit with that sometimes. Like, I come in and I'm like, I need to buy tampons, but they're all advertising like this one does it better than the other. It can get confusing. So I'm gonna kind of talk about how you can find the right one for you and kind of how to use them and whatnot. Without further ado, let's just get right into this video. So first things first, pads. You probably know what these are already. It's basically a little or a big sticker that you stick to your underwear. I don't know who needs to hear this, but you don't stick it to your actual body part. You stick it to your underwear. That's how you get it to work. It basically just catches the menstrual flow as it exits and just kind of chills there for a bit until you change your pad. But yeah, again, basically how you use it, you just take it out of the wrapper, stick it to your underwear, and then when you're done with it, you can usually see if it's full. You can see if it's full. And you can kind of feel it too. You just rip it off, fold it up, and throw it away. Don't forget to fold it up because it'll just cover it up in there. Nobody really wants to see that in there, so make sure you fold it up, ladies. So I'll tell you a little bit about all the different kinds of pads. So first is kind of a subgenre, if you will, of pads. They're called panty liners. Basically just miniature pads. They're much thinner and much shorter in length than pads. They're more for your really, really light days, like if you're just basically spotting. If you are wearing a tampon and you just want a little bit of backup, highly recommend doing that, by the way. Or just for your daily discharge, because some of us, we have discharge so heavy that we do have to wear a liner every day, and that's fine. If you gotta do what you gotta do. Some people will tell you it's unnecessary. I say if it's leaking through your clothes, by all means, wear a panty liner. There are different sizes of panty liners too. There are like several different ones, but they're not as important as the several kinds of actual pads you can find. So with pads, you'll get two varieties, ones with wings and ones without wings. If you have a heavier flow, get them with wings, because if they don't have wings, the sides can like bunch up and the blood can like spill over onto the sides, onto your underwear, and that's not fun. The wings really, they're just like a extension to the side of the pad, and you just fold it over your underwear and stick it down, and it just holds it in place better and catches any leaks from the side. So definitely would highly recommend if you have a heavier flow, so that you can avoid the mistake that I did make when I was younger. And then the ones without wings are better for a lighter flow, or like if you're on your lighter days, I guess, and you don't really need that extra protection, I guess. So now I'm also gonna go over all the different sizes of pads, because there are lots of them and you might be confused on to which one you should get. Always has like a sizing system where like it's based off your flow amount and your underwear size. I'm not sponsored by Always, by the way. I wish I was. If they wanna shoot me an email and, you know, get sponsored by me, then that would be awesome. But basically kind of the general sizes that you'll find in the store are regular, super, or they might be called long or super long or something like that. There's maxi pads and overnight pads. So regular pads are gonna be the shortest kind. They're usually about, I don't know if the YouTube screen will really provide an accurate size, but they're the smallest kind. They're not like tiny, but they're better if you have a lighter flow, if you're on your lighter flow days. So the super or the long or the super long or whatever they want to call it It's gonna be kind of like the regular pad, but it's gonna be slightly longer in the back, so it provides you more protection that way. And sometimes they're slightly longer in the front. They're just slightly longer all around, basically. And then maxi pads, generally they manufacture pads to be really thin. It doesn't compromise absorbency. They're still absorbent. It's just more so it doesn't show through your pants. But maxi pads are generally pretty thick and very long. And that is basically if you have a really heavy flow and you're not gonna be able to change your pad for like several hours, then that might be what you opt for. And then the last one, I need you to pay very close attention. I need you to take notes because I do not want you to make the mistakes that I made when I was younger. Overnight pads, write that down. So basically what overnight pads are is they're gonna be a little longer in the front, and in the back, they're longer and wider. So it's gonna be kind of like a mermaid tail kind of looking thing, I guess you would say. So basically when you're asleep and you're laying down, gravity's gonna act on that menstrual blood. And it's not just gonna go out, it's gonna go down. And if you're not wearing a long enough pad, it's going to stay in the back of your pants and your sheets, and if you're especially unlucky, your mattress. That's not fun. So definitely, especially if you have a heavier flow, wear the overnight pads or a maxi pad, either one works, but something that'll cover you up in the back so that you can avoid any of those leakages. If you're dealing with a lighter flow that day, then you can probably get by with just a super pad, but definitely get yourself some overnight pads if you don't already have them, because trust me, you're gonna need them, maybe, unless you're lucky and have a light flow. I don't know. I don't know you. You know you. Next thing I'm gonna talk to you guys about is tampons. And tampons tend to scare a lot of younger girls. Understandably so. You have to insert them inside of yourself, and for a lot of young girls, that's uncharted territory. You didn't even know it existed before you started having periods. You may just now be hearing about it, I don't know. It's daunting for a lot of girls. Some girls start using them right after they get their first period. Some girls wait a little while. They start off with pads and then something comes up, like a beach trip or whatever it might be, where they are gonna be like, maybe I should try to use a tampon because I wanna be able to do this and not mess anything up, you know what I mean? And some girls never ever wear pads. I mean, never ever wear tampons for the entirety of their childbearing years. Any of those is okay. You wear whatever you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with tampons now, you might be later, you might not be later. It doesn't matter. But I'm gonna talk to you guys about tampons. So basically the way you use tampons is, so you're gonna wanna Google the anatomy of your down there area. I'm avoiding saying the word because YouTube hates women's health for some reason. Otherwise I would say it. But it's basically the second one back, and that's where you want to put the tampon. If it's your first time, it helps to use a miniature mirror to find it on yourself. You basically, so the tampon, if you're using an applicator tampon, there will be a thicker half and a thinner half, and they'll be separated by something that's like discernible from the rest of the applicator. Usually it'll have a design on it or something like that, or like it'll just be indented. That is where you're gonna put your thumb and your middle finger, and you're gonna insert the thicker end of the tampon inside of you at a slight angle toward like the small of your back. That's generally it. And you're gonna insert it all the way until your fingers are touching the outside of that area. And then you're gonna use your index finger to basically push the smaller tube in, and that's what pushes the tampon further up. And the tampon is like that long and like made of absorbent material. It expands when it catches any fluid, and it has a string attached to it. The string is woven in so it can't break when you take it out. But the string is basically so that you can remove it. It hangs outside, and then when you're ready to take it out, you just grab the string and pull it out. You want to pull it out slowly. Don't pull it out too fast because that can become very uncomfortable very fast. So just pull it out slowly and then roll it up in some toilet paper and throw it out. That's all. I'll talk to you a little bit about the different kinds of tampons, and then I'll also address some of the fears that girls often have about tampons, so stay tuned. So I already kind of went over this. There's tampons that have an applicator and tampons that don't have an applicator. To my understanding, outside of the US, non-applicator tampons are more common. Non-applicator tampons, you use your finger to push in. If you live in the US, I only know of one brand that makes non-applicator tampons. You just use your finger to push it in. In the US though, we have an abundance of tampons that have applicators, and that's basically the tube that the tampon lives inside, and it makes it just easier to insert it so you don't have to put your finger up there or anything like that, because that's probably the last place you want to put your finger during that time of the month. So that just makes it a little bit easier and cleaner to do. So then there's also types of applicators. Fun. There's just so many choices. So the materials, of course, there's cardboard applicators and there's plastic applicators. Cardboard applicators I've never used. A lot of people say they feel like sandpaper going in. And some people have said they don't feel like sandpaper at all. They feel perfectly fine. I've never used one myself, so I couldn't tell you, but if you are interested in using something a little more environmentally friendly, cardboard is obviously more biodegradable than plastic, so you can opt for that. Plastic is, you know what plastic is, it's smooth, it'll go in a lot more seamlessly and painlessly, so yeah. I would definitely recommend if you're a beginner starting with plastic, because it's gonna be easier to do. So then there's sizes of applicators. Well, sizes, I guess, for lack of a better term. There's the normal applicators and there's also compact applicators. So the normal applicators, the thin tube is already out of the thicker tube, so like you just take it out of the wrapper and just use it as you would. Compact applicator tampons, the thinner tube is actually inside the larger tube, and basically all you do with that is you pull out the smaller tube until you hear usually a click with most brands. So it'll like click, and then once you hear that click, you can use it as normal. Basically the point of compact applicator tampons, it doesn't compromise absorbency. The tampon's not smaller or less absorbent. It's literally just so that the tampon can fit into smaller spaces. So if you have a really tiny purse, for example, that can't hold much, compact tampon would be the way to go. So then of course there's different absorbencies of tampons. There are 5 different absorbencies, going from least absorbent to most absorbent. There's light, regular, super, super plus, and ultra. And now if you're going to buy tampons for the first time, you might wonder, well, what the heck absorbency do I need? That can be a tricky part, because it'll take some trial and error to kind of figure out what absorbency you need. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Super plus and ultra are for people who have very, very heavy flows, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend starting out with them. Usually the most girls need is super. So if you tried that and you're bleeding through them really fast, then you can move up to super plus or even ultra if you need to. Hopefully you don't need to, because that sounds like it would suck. Yikes. But yeah, you'll usually need a different absorbency depending on what day of your period you're on. So like, for me, it was like day 2, I would use a super. By day 4, I would only need a regular, and then like 5, I would need a light. So that's kind of that, but you know, it's up to you. It's kind of based on what you find that you need. Again, it's gonna take a few tries to figure out what that would be. So, some fears and misconceptions about tampons. So the first one is that tampons will hurt going in, wearing them, taking them out, whatever. They shouldn't. Putting it in, if you are relaxed, you're not tense down there, it shouldn't hurt. If you are tense, then yeah, it's gonna hurt a little bit, so you gotta relax before you do it. You gotta like take a few deep breaths, maybe play some calming music, whatever you gotta do to get yourself relaxed so you can do that without hurting yourself. I will say this because of my own personal experience: if it is excruciatingly painful time after time, after a while, go see a gynecologist, because there might be something else going on. That's just speaking from experience. I'll tell that story at a later date. When it's inside of you, you shouldn't be able to feel it at all. That's what I kind of forgot to mention. If it's far enough in, if it's in at the right angle, you shouldn't even know that it's there. If you can feel it, then it's not in far enough. And they say to take it out and try again, but you can really just put your finger up in there and like push it up. And what I've kind of found to be the case is that it'll usually work its way up if it's not in all the way, as long as it's close to where it needs to be, I guess. And then taking it out, the first couple of times you do it can pinch a little bit, just because if you're not used to it, but after you do it a couple of times, it shouldn't hurt anymore. Taking it out dry can be a little bit rough, but I'm just trying to spit facts, I'm not trying to scare anybody. And some people have wondered if tampons can fall out of you. I've heard horror stories of people sneezing too hard or laughing too hard and their tampon like shoots out of them. That's never happened to me, that's never happened to anybody I know. It probably won't happen to you, because the muscles up there should be holding on to it pretty tight. It shouldn't move while it's up there. Until you take it out yourself. If it does happen though, well, I mean, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. You just go put in a new one, I guess. And another fear / misconception is that people think that you can lose the tampon inside of you, like somehow it can get sucked up into your body, never to be seen again. That's impossible, actually. So your birth canal, that's what I'm gonna use. That's the word I'm gonna use. It's about 4 to 5 inches long, and it stops at your cervix, which is basically the like space in between your birth canal and your uterus, and it's kind of like a ceiling for that. The cervix does have a hole in it, but it's literally like that big, like way too small to ever fit anything up there. So yeah, tampons are not getting past your cervix, and some people fear the string breaking or the tampon breaking or something. That shouldn't happen. The string is woven up in there really tightly. It could happen if you accidentally put in a tampon while you already have one inside of you, and friction can do that. That could cause it, but if it does happen, just put your finger up in there and try and like find it, and then you can like grab it out. Or you can bear down and push as if you're trying to give birth or something, and that'll usually get it out. If not, you can go to the doctor and they'll remove it for you. But again, that shouldn't happen. That should not happen. If it does happen, that's on the tampon company. That would be bad press for them, so it shouldn't happen. They are really taking precautions against that. And now I'm going to address a very common fear about tampons, the risk of toxic shock syndrome. And I feel like I'd be a horrible advice giver if I did not talk about that. So, toxic shock syndrome, or TSS for short, it is a potentially deadly illness, and tampons can increase your risk for it. But, hear me out. It is super duper rare, meaning if you are using your tampons entirely correctly, and that is not leaving them in for longer than 8 hours, you make sure that you change it at least. Usually 4 to 6 hours is like the golden time. Sometimes you have to change it more often than that because they leak, or you can just wait the like full 6 hours or 8 hours or whatever, but don't leave it in for longer than 8 hours ever. And also use the lowest absorbency that you need to manage your flow. And if you do all that, then you should not get it at all. And even if you do slip up once, like if you accidentally leave it in for 10 hours, or you used a super when all you needed was a light, like your chances of getting it are still astronomically low. Like really the thing that's gonna increase your risk is if you're like a repeat offender. Like I know girls who like purposefully leave tampons in for 12 hours at a time, like all the time. That can increase your risk just by like probability and statistics wise, but like your risk of getting it is really, really low. So TSS is actually caused by, it's not caused by the tampon. It's just that the tampon is a breeding ground for bacteria, and that bacteria can make its way into your bloodstream, and if it's a specific type of bacteria, then it can cause it. That's why you change your tampon at least every 8 hours, because you want a clean tampon up there so you're not breeding so many bacteria on there. So, and then also TSS is very, very treatable. So note the symptoms of TSS if you're experiencing flu-like symptoms and a sunburn-like rash. Like it's kind of like sunburn peeling. You'll usually find it like on your private area, the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet. If you're having flu-like symptoms and that kind of a sunburn-like rash, then go straight to the ER, and if you're wearing a tampon, remove it immediately and go straight to the ER. If you do that, congratulations, you've caught it early, you will be fine. It becomes deadly if you let it fester for too long. So definitely, if you notice those symptoms and you've worn a tampon in the last couple of days, go right to the hospital and they'll be able to treat you and you should be fine. But again, let me stress this, if you're doing everything right and you rarely ever slip up, you should not get it at all. And next thing, I'm gonna touch on menstrual cups and menstrual discs really quickly. The only difference between menstrual cups and menstrual discs is that the disc sits higher up, like in the widest part of you. Menstrual cups, I don't really know much about them. I've never used either of them before. I don't really understand how they work. I know that you like fold it, you fold the cup and you like insert it and it pops open and creates a vacuum seal. And to take it out, you like apply a little bit of pressure to the bottom of the cup and you just pull it out because it breaks the seal, and then you just dump it out into the toilet, wash it and reuse it. Some cups are disposable, but many of them are reusable for up to 10 years. So if you're kind of concerned about like environment and waste, menstrual cup is a good way to go because you're not throwing anything away, you just wash it and you reuse it. And also with menstrual cups, they carry no risk of TSS, so if the risk of TSS associated with tampons spooked you, but you don't want to wear pads, then a menstrual cup will be the way to go. So menstrual cups also, you can leave those in for up to 12 hours, so you only really need to change them like twice a day, so you can like take it out in the shower and like wash it there and like, you know, reuse it. I've heard from a lot of people that it's a lot more convenient. I personally do not think they would be for me, and it takes like a few tries apparently to get the hang of it. I don't have a few tries, I just want it to be easy right away. So I just personally don't really want to use them, but if you want to use them, I just decided to throw it in there for you. But yeah, menstrual cups, menstrual discs. Menstrual discs, the ones I know of, they are disposable, but they're made of something that's a little more biodegradable, so that's also a thing. But again, if you want to go zero waste, menstrual cup, the reusable kind. So that was it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed and maybe found it helpful. If you are unfamiliar with the realm of period products, because even I can be sometimes, I'm like, what do I get? But yeah, if you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and click that subscribe button if you are new here, and click on that bell so that you turn on post notifications and get notified every time I upload and never miss anything from me again. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. So have a good day and adios.